Thank you very much. I'm going to give you 5 words. 5 words that I'm going to say at the beginning of this speech. I want you to hold them in your head. Try not to obsess about them, because then you won't listen to the rest of the speech. I'm going to give you 5 words which I want you to hold in your heads until I get to the end of the speech, and we'll revisit those 5 words. Those 5 words are as follows. The government didn't stop me. Okay? The government didn't stop me. 5 words. Hold those words. Right. Now on to the speech. Delegation, decentralisation, choice, localism. These are all words that as Conservatives we are instinctively comfortable with. Yes?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, it's going to be a really long evening if we're going to do that. So these are words we are comfortable with. Yes?
Yes.
Thank you. Right, good. All good Conservative words. And we want people to be free to choose. We want them to live their lives as they see fit. Or do we? Because all the evidence shows that whilst we say these things, in practice, governments of all political persuasions in office do not live by those principles. And I can kind of understand this. It is a bit of a natural trait, a bit of a human trait. How many times, and I won't demand a show of hands, but how many times have we turned to a friend or a colleague or a loved one and asked their advice on some issue or another, and then received their advice, and then been a little bit upset or disappointed or even angry at that advice, because frankly it wasn't the advice that we wanted to hear? Yeah? I'm guessing by the nod of heads and the chuckles that we've all been there. We've all asked someone for advice, got their advice and thought, well, that's bollocks. And the reason is because, of course, we don't really want their advice. What we want is not their opinion. What we want is our opinion in their voice. Yeah? And actually, of course, governments in office manifest this through policy, because what we say is we want people to live lives through their own choices. We want people to be at liberty to make decisions. But what we really want them to do, deep down what we really want them to do, is make the choices that we, in their position, would make. Or in other words, to make the right choices. And you will hear this. You will hear governments say explicitly, we want to encourage people to make the right choices. I am sure that if you whack that phrase into Google, it would come up over and over and over again in speeches from people in government throughout history across the world. Because that's what we really want them to do. We want people to make the right choices. And of course the right choices are the choices that we would make in their position. Or rather, the choices we would like to think that we would make in their position. But liberty, frankly, means nothing at all if you don't have the liberty to get it wrong. If you don't have the liberty to make the wrong choices. Because if you are constrained to only make the right choices, then frankly you are just constrained. We have taken liberty away from you. Now there is an argument to say that is the right thing to do. I'm a parent, I have kids, I have children. And I have spent the whole time thus far as a parent making choices on behalf of my children. I deny them the right to make choices. That is what parents do. And as they grow up, I hand across the right to make choices. But you know what? The other thing as a parent, and this is proven in law, as a parent, I also, as well as holding on to those choices, also hold on to those responsibilities. So I deny them choices in certain circumstances, but I also protect them from their responsibilities. And the exam question, the phrase on the front of the blue pamphlets in front of each one of you, is the moral choice for right and, or sorry, is it right or choice? Choice. Choice and responsibility, and they go hand in hand. And just with my own children, when I deny them certain choices, because I'm a parent and I want to look after them, I also deny them certain responsibilities, and that's the balance. So we go back to the relationship between the government and the citizen. Every time a government, for all the best reason, denies you choice, it is also absorbing your responsibilities, your personal responsibilities, because you cannot impose responsibilities without choice. They are two sides of the same coin. And so each time we deny you the choice to make a decision we would not make, to make the wrong decision, we also absolve you of the responsibility of making the wrong decision. And we do this in policy all the time. There is no penalty for smoking cigarettes. Hands up who honestly believes that smoking fags is good for you. Thought not. Okay? Hands up who smokes. That's cool. And you do it because you enjoy doing it. And you know it's bad for you. You know there is a physical penalty for doing what you do. And we tax you. We tax you. Okay, that's the government. But you know what? The way we phrase that taxation is not to say, you know what, I'm gonna put a financial premium on your choice to smoke to offset the financial cost that your smoking is going to incur on the NHS. Now that would be an honest way of doing it, a completely legit argument. We don't do that. What we do is we imply there's some punitive taxation. We are raising the tax on cigarettes because we want to discourage people from smoking. That's what we claim. But you know what? Elasticity of demand on cigarettes, just like on booze, is to all intents and purposes infinite. We put tax on these things and we raise it above the cost of inflation because we know you will just keep paying it. That's why we escalate the taxes on these things, because of almost infinite elasticity of demand. The more honest thing would be to say, you know what, you want to smoke, that's fine, that's up to you, I give you that choice, but you also carry the responsibility that comes with that. And that is a legitimate conversation to have with the citizens of this country. And we need to get in the habit of handing back both choice and responsibility. Because if we don't, if we keep taking choice from people, we keep denying them responsibility for their own actions. And ultimately, someone, quite legitimately, will turn around to the government and say, whatever collapse or catastrophe has occurred because of their choices, they will say, and they will be right to say, it's not my fault. The government didn't stop it. Thank you.
I'm going to ask the first question, and that's, if you could reverse one of the laws we have now that restricts choice, which one would you pick? Or a top three of them?
It's actually, we don't do it through laws all that much. I mean, we tend to do it through kind of faux moral outrage. We tend to do it through the taxation system. We hate smoking, but we don't ban it. Chris Phillips earlier on gave a very compelling argument about why we don't ban things all over the place. If I could rewind time completely, I think I'd like to clean up the weird combination of prohibitions and non-prohibitions. So we don't ban cigarettes, we don't ban alcohol, but we do ban some drugs, some of which are scientifically proven to be less damaging than either tobacco or alcohol. So I think if I had my time around, I'd like to clean up that whole mess about what is or is not prohibited and start from scratch on the whole personal choice and personal responsibility thing, because these things are all massively out of kilter.
Questions? Let's go.
Whilst I agree with you in terms of the government taking choice of people and therefore absolving people responsibility, that still doesn't stop people having responsibility for their own actions. So whilst the government may try and dissuade people from doing things, and taking some of the choice away, That still doesn't stop you of yourself having responsibility for what I choose to do with my body or what anyone chooses to do with their own. So whilst that is taken away, that doesn't completely resolve them.
No, absolutely. And I use that as a more of an intellectual exercise than a policy proposal, because I think you're absolutely right. It doesn't. What concerns me is the inherent hypocrisy that comes about when increasingly, I think, we are heading towards a situation where people are denied choice, and with, it's not government policy, but let's talk around a kind of a sugar tax. Now, I just really worry. I really worry when we get to a stage where people grow up thinking, well, if it is not explicitly banned or criminalised, it must be fine. I don't need to make any personal moral judgment calls on anything, because if it wasn't okay to do it, they would have made it illegal. And I don't want to live in a position. I don't want to live in a country where we have basically codified personal choice. There is a word for that. It's called fascism, and that's not where I want to be.
You said, because I know as growing up, my parents say you don't get your bank account until you're age 15. You don't get to. When I was age 16, I always wanted to vote when I was 16. But since growing up, I realised the protections are in place when you're between 16 and 18. And now growing up, I wondered, do you think 16-year-olds should have the right to vote as a part of freedom?
Oh, here we go.
Well, I don't think so, because of protection.
Good, I agree with you. No, I think, no, well, actually, there is a degree of artificiality about the right, about the age to vote. It's pretty arbitrary. We draw a line, and we say, right, below this age, you're not able to vote. And the line that we choose at the moment is 18. And people say, oh, I've met loads of 16-year-olds who are really well informed and they would make the right choices. And that's absolutely legit, absolutely fair. And frankly, I've met 40-year-olds that I wouldn't trust to tie their own shoelaces. Myself included. And they are allowed to vote. So it's completely arbitrary. But you've got to draw a line in the sand somewhere. At the moment we've chosen 18. We could choose 16. My 13-year-old is pretty switched on. The 16-year-old lives 2 doors up. I think the guy's an idiot. He's not my kid, it's probably unfair. And actually, he's a completely notional entity. He doesn't really exist. He does, and he's an idiot. And so maybe, because I think my kids are very well informed, we talk about politics at home, my 13-year-old should be able to vote, and the 16-year-old 2 doors up probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
Okay? So, we're in a kind of mess. Now, the argument that I intend to deploy, if that debate comes across, is the fact that we have a whole portfolio of things around different ages. But one of the things that we have decided as a society, we have decided that school leaving age is 18. We have, by extension of that, we have explicitly said that we as a society do not believe people are fully educated until the age of 18. That is explicit, we have said. Okay? So if we are then going to say that we should allow votes at 16, what we're saying is that on the one hand we think you're not fully educated because we don't let you leave school, but on the other hand we think you are fully educated enough to vote. And if you think you're fully educated enough to vote, we should probably let you buy alcohol and drive and smoke cigarettes and watch pornography and choose to go to the front line in a combat role and get married without parental consent. We should allow you to enter into legally binding contracts at the age of 16. If you are an adult at 16, then you should be an adult and treated as such. And that also extends to standing for elected office. Now, I wonder how many people who are all gung-ho for votes at 16 would be quite so comfortable with a 16-year-old MP. Well, you laugh, but why not? Why not? So the point I'm making is we either say you are or are not a fully formed adult at the age of 16. If we're saying you are, then fine. Give them the vote, let them stand, send them to combat, let them get mortgages, etc. If we're not, then let's just stick to 18, understanding that there are all kinds of inherent flaws and contradictions, and that there will be some very clever 17-year-olds that should be allowed to vote, and some absolute idiots who are 46 and are members of Parliament for Braintree that frankly shouldn't be allowed. anywhere near any kind of positions of authority.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.